When a smaller body circles a bigger one, we call it a natural satellite, or moon. At least 200 moons have been discovered in the solar system, while the vast majority of these are satellites of the larger planets in the outer solar system. The inner solar system has just 3 moons. Mars has 2 tiny moons with odd shapes called Phobos and Deimos, while Mercury and Venus have none. The moon is composed of rocky and metallic material, just like the terrestrial planets. As far as atmosphere goes, it's quite lifeless. Craters dot the lunar landscape because of collisions with asteroids, comets, and other space objects. Space is filled with vast, dark areas that astronomers formerly referred to as seas. Today, scientists know these features are really cooled lava flows from the moon's ancient volcanic history. When does the moon look its brightest and clearest? We can see the moon because it is the second brightest object in the sky after the sun. The only other celestial bodies clearly visible throughout the day are the sun and moon. Despite being so close, we can't see the far side of the moon. This is due to the moon's synchronous rotation, a property shared by many other moons in the solar system. The time it takes to go around the Earth once is exactly the same as the time it takes to make one rotation on its axis. To rephrase, the side of the moon closest to Earth is always the one that faces toward Earth, whereas the opposite side is always the one facing away from Earth. Due to the moon's little wobble in its orbit, only 41% of the moon's surface is really completely obscured. We use the term libration to describe this practice. Observable variations in the moon's phase occur when it moves around Earth and into different relative positions to the sun. It's possible to get a decent look at the moon throughout each of its phases. Following the full moon in popularity are the 2 thinner phases known as the waxing crescent and the waning crescent. The moon is most visible during the day during the first quarter and third quarter phases. While the new moon phase is often undetectable to the naked eye, it occasionally gives rise to one of the most spectacular astronomical events, a solar eclipse. How long is a day? In the course of around 27.32 days, the moon completes one rotation on its axis. Sidereal day is the term for such a day. Due to the moon's synchronous spin, one orbit around the Earth takes exactly the same amount of time. However, it takes around 29.53 days for the sun to return to the same spot in the sky as seen from the surface of the moon. A solar day has passed. The motion of the Earth and Moon around the Sun causes it to be distinct from the sidereal day. When measured from Earth, a sidereal lunar month lasts for about 27.32 days, while a synodic lunar month takes around 29.53 days. Is it possible that there are other moons in orbiting the Moon? In its normal state, the Moon does not possess any satellites. No moon in the solar system is known to have its own moon, according to scientists. Human exploration of the Moon. Luna 2 was the first spacecraft to crash onto the Moon on September 13, 1959, less than 2 years after the beginning of the space era. When it crashed into the Moon, it was moving at a speed of around 3.3 kilometers per second, or about 7,400 miles per hour. The far side of the Moon was first photographed by the Luna 3 mission on October 7, 1959. The 3 men on Apollo 8, which orbited the Moon on December 24, 1968, were the first humans to observe the far side. The 20th of July, 1969, will go down as the most memorable day in the annals of lunar exploration. That's when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin of Apollo 11 stepped foot on the Moon, making humankind the proud owners of Earth's natural satellite for the first time. It was July 20th in the Eastern Time Zone, and July 21st in the Western Time Zone. On January 3, 2019, a spacecraft made the first soft, controlled landing on the far side of the Moon. Both a lunar lander and rover were part of China's Chang'e 4 mission. The time required to go to the Moon. To go to the Moon, you'll need a few days. From Earth, Luna 2 took less than 2 days to reach the Moon through a straight route. The launch of Apollo 11 was delayed somewhat. After a short stop in Earth orbit, it continued on to the Moon. The spacecraft then slowed and entered lunar orbit, when the lunar module separated from the control module and descended to the lunar surface. Meanwhile, Chang'e 4 remained in lunar orbit for 22 days before commencing its fall to the far side. Luna 2. Time of launch: 6:39 Coordinated Universal Time on September 12. Time of arrival: 21:02 Coordinated Universal Time on September 13. Impacted. The Apollo 11 mission took 1 day and 14 hours to complete the trip. Initiated on July 16, 1969, at 13:32 Coordinated Universal Time. Date of landing: 2:56 Coordinated Universal Time on July 21, 1969. First step by Armstrong. Time in transit: 4 days, 13 hours. 4 Chang'e. Time of launch: 18:23 Coordinated Universal Time on December 7, 2018. Time of arrival: 2:26 Coordinated Universal Time on January 3, 2019. Landed. Travel time: 26 days, 8 hours. Greenwich Mean Time was the International Standard Time Zone until 1961.